So I'm going to talk about something that has a little more of a personal note in it, but also relating to my work, and hopefully something I think that you all might find interesting. It's been really interesting for me, and so I thought it'd be something fun to share. And so you can. I'm Charlie Hone. I work for the wetlands program. I draw wetland maps and do wetland monitoring, go into wetlands, collect data, a bunch of stuff like that. You can see a map there, which is Cornwall Swamp. And so I know while we were all home during the pandemic, we all learned all kinds of things about ourselves or our relationships or our families or all kinds of great stuff and some not so great stuff sometimes. But I actually learned a lot during the pandemic. And I learned a little bit about how it is that I do things differently than a lot of other people. And a lot of you maybe have come by and seen me at my desk looking at something like this that's just like, what even is that? I don't understand that. So I throw these into presentations and people be like, what? Okay. I think but when I look at this, I can see it's a delta with a river and a wetland on the left. So it's like, oh yeah, obviously it's a delta. And then I color all my numbers too. So here's like some analysis I was doing. I look at the numbers, I'm like, I don't know what a number is, but then I color it and it's like, boop, oh yeah, now I can see the correlations and stuff. And so, and I'm out in the field and people are asking, oh, hey, a lot of people don't actually ask me why I can't tie my shoes because they don't really know that, but, and I can do it. It just takes a while, but, I've got a very irregular skill profile or spiky skill profile, as they call it. So, basically I know what a million plants are, but I kind of get wonky in meetings and can't sit still and I can't remember numbers at all. That's why I've got that color coding, stuff like that. So it's just like, well, what gives? I never really bothered to figure it all out. I love this comic because it's like definitely me. But so what I learned was that I'm autistic. I'm on the autism spectrum. And I didn't realize this because I'd had a misdiagnosis as a kid, but in retrospect, it's pretty clear. But it's very different for everyone. So if you're like, well, but I know someone else who's autistic and they're really, really different from Charlie. Yeah, they probably are. And, it's really, really broad and diverse. And I use autistic instead of on the spectrum because in the autistic community that I've connected to, people prefer that, but I don't have it doesn't bother me either way. And yeah, there's a lot of challenges. There's a lot of good stuff too. There's also a lot of stereotypes that I believed, and that's part of why I never figured this out. Anyway, so when I was a kid, I really kind of dug into childhood stuff. And this topographic map in the background of this is something I drew when I was like, I don't know, 8 or 10 or something. I would just compulsively draw these maps when I was stuck in classrooms. And I have like hundreds of them, right? I tried to hide them, but my mom saved them. They thought I had Tourette's syndrome because I was doing lots of bouncing and making sounds. And but it turns out it wasn't Tourette's syndrome. It's called stimming. It's a often repetitive motion that autistic people tend to make. And actually I have a bunch of childhood videos on YouTube. I'll link later. I better keep moving though. So yeah, it actually has some really beneficial parts. I have, you don't realize until you start talking to people that not everyone is perceiving things the way you are. Like I don't have full on synesthesia where I like look at the color orange and it smells like chicken soup or something, but I have a little bit of that kind of blending of senses where I can be driving down the road and see a white pine tree and I can almost like smell the tree and feel the tree as it passes by. I'm like, oh, white pine. So like, oh, I thought everyone could do that, but maybe not, or maybe so. I don't know. A lot of it's intuition level. So a lot of it I don't even realize I know why I know what I know, or I don't know what I don't know what I don't know. And I've got a really, really good memory for maps and for places. I can visualize what all these different wetlands look like pretty much exactly. And if my map drops in the water, I don't get lost. And I remember all kinds of, and that's why I remember plants too. And I have a way of seeing color that I can visualize stuff. And I do really well outside. None of the downsides affect me that much outside. But there are things that are hard too. And yeah, I do struggle in the office environment, but not in the stereotypical sense. I'm not the guy who like hears a sound and gets upset. It's kind of the other way around. I'm really sensory seeking, and the combination of like the air conditioner noise and the lack of other stimulus kind of gets me all wiggly, especially in meetings. And but also alternatively, I can't really regulate my voice volume, which everyone loves in the office. And I used to be really sensitive about it because I wasn't trying to be loud. I just am. But now I'm trying to understand. That's just kind of how my brain works. And if I'm doing like for some people, the stimming is like, you know, different hand flaps and wiggles. And a lot of times for me, it's like making little sounds. Like I'm like, while I'm mapping, and everyone's like, what is that noise? But I don't even know I'm doing it. It's actually kind of pleasant to me, but it might irritate others. So it's now fine, now that I understand it, to knock on my cubicle. So I choose something else. Yeah, I don't remember numbers. I can't even really remember my wife's phone number, which is the opposite of the stereotype, right? I'm not good with names, not good with logistics. I'm not good at when plans change. And they say people on the autism spectrum can't be sarcastic, but the I'm not great on the phone thing is kind of a sarcastic overstatement. I am horrible on the phone. I know I'm talking too long, so I'll go quick. But neurodiversity is just this idea that there's this broad suite of brain types, and the average person, if not that there's such thing, falls kind of in this central realm, and then there's all these other people with all these other different things they can do that make them both stronger and weaker, or that's the wrong word. They're just different. And so the idea of neurodiversity is that there's all these different things. It's often used to refer to the autism spectrum, but it also relates to ADHD and ironically Tourette syndrome, which I thought I had, but don't, and dyslexia and a bunch of other stuff. And with the spiky skill profiles, it means, well, I'm really bad at some stuff, but I'm really good at some stuff. And a lot of people just really struggle, but I'm just lucky I have these amazing coworkers in this amazing workplace where people have tolerated my weirdness and gotten excited about what I'm good at. So, it's really, in a lot of ways, been a benefit, but I just never really drilled into it. And anyway, yeah, I just wanted to say thanks. And I like talking about this stuff, so feel free to talk to me about it. But just know that everyone's really different, and all my opinions, all my experiences are very unique to me. So if you feel like what I'm saying does not resonate with you, and you are also neurodivergent, because I know there's a lot of us in this field, then, share if you want, don't share if you want. I don't, try to figure out people's diagnoses because that's rude. Anyway, thanks so much. I know I went over, so.